I don't know what you've been told, but why do evil men always get to grow old? His planes are blowing up, his planes are going down, cutting off the power in a small Spanish town. Oh my, oh hell yes. Send more money to ISIS next. Said Gaddafi's gone and Assad's next. I guess it's true life comes at you fast. Let's dance with John McCain, one base tumor in his brain. I smell chlorine on the wind, thank God for those white helmets. I traded to his friends, I traded to this land, doing the globalist song. Well, I don't know what you've been told, but why do evil men always get to grow old? His planes are blowing up, his planes are going down, cutting off the power in a small Spanish town. Oh my, oh hell yes. Send more money to ISIS next. Said Gaddafi's gone and Assad's next. I guess it's true life comes at you fast. Let's dance with John McCain, one base tumor in his brain. I smell chlorine on the wind, thank God for those white helmets. I traded to his friends, I traded to this land, doing the globalist song. Well, I don't know what you've been told, but why do evil men always get to grow old? His planes are blowing up, his planes are going down, cutting off the power in a small Spanish town. Oh my, oh hell yes. Send more money to ISIS next. Said Gaddafi's gone and Assad's next. I guess it's true life comes at you fast. Let's dance with John McCain, one base tumor in his brain. I smell chlorine on the wind, thank God for those white helmets. I traded to his friends, I traded to this land, doing the globalist song. Well, I don't know what you've been told, but why do evil men always get to grow old? His planes are blowing up, his planes are going down, cutting off the power in a small Spanish town. Oh my, oh hell yes. Send more money to ISIS next. Said Gaddafi's gone and Assad's next. I guess it's true life comes at you fast. Let's dance with John McCain, one base tumor in his brain. I smell chlorine on the wind, thank God for those white helmets. traded to his friends, I traded to this land, doing the globalist song. Well, I don't know what you've been told, but why do evil men always get to grow old? His planes are blowing up, his planes are going down, cutting off the power in a small Spanish town. Oh my, oh hell yes. Send more money to ISIS next. Said Gaddafi's gone and Assad's next. I guess it's true life comes at you fast. Let's dance with John McCain, one base tumor in his brain. I smell chlorine on the wind, thank God for those white helmets. I traded to his friends, I traded to this land, doing the globalist song. Well, I don't know what you've been told, but why do evil men always get to grow old? His planes are blowing up, his planes are going down, cutting off the power in a small Spanish town. Oh my, oh hell yes. Send more money to ISIS next. Said Gaddafi's gone and Assad's next. I guess it's true life comes at you fast. Let's dance with John McCain.
John McCain, Dead Day, and Kyle Rittenhouse's triple play, hat trick, whatever. Having Jim Beam today because Jack Daniels been woke.
Thank God for those white helmets.
If you're looking at the triggered calendar, we've got, a lovely Miss August. The quote is from Phil Donahue to David Cole. You are the fucking Antichrist. Phil Donahue. The door opens in. David Cole. On the Phil Donahue show in the 90s. Lovely. Look at that lovely face. She looks like she's having a great time there. And she is wearing bubbles, so not nude. It is John McCain Still Dead Day. You must be celebrating. It's also when Rittenhouse got his hat trick. So there you go. Do you know that Epstein was murdered on the same day as the first issue of Spider-Man? As in the book. Pretty cool. Get your calendar for next year if you didn't get this one. You can get... Oh, no, you can't get this. Make sure you get it. So I'm going to go over some August stuff before I get into the war on you and Ukraine and all this, because I was on traveling around for most of August. Let me show you something first, though. We're remaking Empire Unmasked. Shout out to Owen Benjamin. Thank you for reposting my Telegram. Pretty cool. Here is what we're doing, though. We're selling these movie posters. Empire Unmasked. The covert methods and events surrounding 9/11 and its fallout. And, you buy these, you help to pay for the remake, which is going to be public and free. And that's because I decided... That's not going to work there. I decided the information is so important, and I am making money from other films and stuff now, and that was always the goal. If we can get a public release, we will. Right now, though, we're stuck at 36% on the triple release of Neocolonialism in Africa, how terrorists formed a nation. You know who that is. I should go get the bell. Actually, I'm going to go get the bell. Have a sip. Let's try it again. Neocolonialism in Africa, how terrorists formed a nation. And another film, how Israel sells American trade secrets and military technology to the Chinese, undermining American interests. So, here we go. 1st of August, you had the Warsaw Uprising. Skipping down to the Friday the 5th is the death of Ernst Zundel. May he rest in peace. The 6th is when Gary Schmidt lied about the Iraq Al-Qaeda connection. And it's also the same day the U.S. nuked Hiroshima. Of course, they nuked Nagasaki on the 9th. Totally pointless. The 10th is when Epstein was murdered. And he was murdered. He did not kill himself. The 11th was Hulk Hogan's birthday. It was also the Sturgeon Moon, if you're following the Native American calendar. And it was also the death anniversary of Sumner Redstone. Keystone, Viacom, MTV, all that. Sumner Redstone. Real name was Rothstein. 12th, Fred Barnes lied about Mohammed Atta meeting Iraqis in Prague. Fred Barnes. He did that in the Weekly Standard, run by William Crystal and Robert Kagan. A lot of bells. 14th is Hezbollah. A Lebanese militia group defeats the U.S. pampered Israeli diaper force. 17th was when George Orwell's book Animal Farm was published. If you've never read that, maybe consider doing that. 18th is a dark day in history. It's when the 19th Amendment was ratified. The 20th was Ron Paul's birthday. It's happening! Happy birthday to Dr. Ron Paul. The Blair Mountain Rebellion was on the 22nd. I've done interviews with Sam Tripoli about that. Give you the origin of the word redneck. And then, of course, today in the U.S., which is the 25th, is the death anniversary of John McCain. One base tumor in his brain took him out. It's also the exact same day that Kyle Rittenhouse got a hat trick on 3 communists, including a child-raping pedophile, Joseph Rosenbaum, and put him out of his misery in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He was targeting a new kid, too. He'd get with single moms and rape their children. Good riddance. That Antifa, communist, pedophile, piece of shit. Kyle put him in his grave. He had to. He chased him across 2 parking lots. He was grabbing his gun. He's saying, "I'm going to kill you, MFer." So, and he also says, "Shoot me, Nibba." Well, you got shot, Ginger, in your gingers. And then you bled to death like an asshole with a stupid t-shirt around your head. Great medical expertise there by Antifa. All right, here's the calendar. Now, I'm looking at this on Rumble, but I will check Odysee. It is on there. Something weird. I'm going to refresh. I hit the fire button if you're on Odysee. If it is buffering for you, and it all depends on where you live, just go watch it on Rumble. Rumble seems to be the most smooth, even more smooth than VK. Wasn't always like that. That's the recent thing. Someone says, get on tinfoil hat for 9/11. I don't know, man. Sam did me dirty, acting like I was some Jew-hating lunatic or whatever, but he'd have me on anyway for free speech. What the fuck, dude? God damn it. Zionists are not the Jews. For the 6 millionth time, one is an ethnic group / religion. That's fine. The other is an insane political ideology of Jewish supremacy. That's not okay. You know, Nazis are not the whites, even though probably all of them are white. You know, all Nazis are white, not all whites are Nazis, you know. Fucking simpletons, man. They have a woke.net. That's hilarious. All right. Checking entropy real fast before I get into it. I got something to share with you guys. So thank you, Owen Benjamin, for sharing a Telegram post. trying to, well, I don't know, like some people, through the grapevine, I'm hearing Sneeko wants to not only learn about 9/11, but Iran-Contra and all these wars and lots of things. I'm like, dude, if you want to know about CIA fuckery and all the like, watch my films. Go watch Decades of Deception. It's an hour-long timeline of horrible things the CIA, Mossad, and other groups have done. You can have me on for an interview. Or, you know, watch umpteen zillion videos I've done on this before I got banned on the everything. My new Twitter account's banned already. That lasted a whole day. Where is the CIA as organized crime? I thought it was up here. Doug Valentine interview. I think it's behind Jeb Stewart there. But those interviews with Doug Valentine really get in good on both Ukraine and the CIA. I paused my book on Syria thinking maybe I ought to do Ukraine first, considering what's going on. There was war in both places, kind of simmered down in Syria and flared up in Ukraine. So after 9/11 Hell Week, it's book time. I'm going to do both books. We're going to do Syria, we're going to do Ukraine. It's transcribed interviews, and I'm filling in, segueing, and so on. So thank you, P1 Dizzy, Rise website for everything. ANC Report. It's anti-neocon, ancreport.com, or on Telegram, Odysee, Rumble, VK, Gab. Not allowed on anything else, really. And Substack. We're on Substack. We're also on Rockfin, if you visit there, but they pay me like pointless Ray tokens that I'm not allowed to transfer, so yeah, it's useless. They won't use real money for some reason, so they give some cryptocurrency that I can't exchange because I'm banned on all the exchanges. Hooray. And then Japanese regulation will not let me transfer it to someone else's account so that they can cash it out and give it to me. So it's fucked. Okay. Somebody asked a question from Huffman Aviation, which is a stud name, but they didn't Shekelchat, so I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to answer it. Use the Shekel button. You can give a penny, and that works. J. Ray, 1981, did send a dead link in. It says, Rogan is so gross now, realize he will never have you on after watching him in Tripoli. Yeah, Bravo kind of told me that already. I have not seen his interview with Tripoli, but he's a liberal, except for guns. He's pretty liberal on everything. But not in the crazy SJW way, just like a normal Yankee Democrat or whatever. So what? You know? Look, he's got a lot to risk. If he had me on, he'd get ganked on everything. They would tear up $100 million contract. Because that... that saves them... That's not as costly as allowing someone like me to speak on a show with 11 million people. I could get into Epstein. I could get into September 11th. I could get into the Iraq War, Truth on Ukraine, all these subjects, and blow some minds. And that's never, ever, ever going to be allowed. You got to have nuts of steel, and he's got too much to lose. And, you know, look, it's his show. He can have on who he wants to have on. You know, I'm not entitled to be on his show. I feel like... he might also be unaware of my work because it gets categorized as, you know, Holocaust denial and all this crap by the usual suspects. Jim Beam. Why Jim Beam instead of Jack Daniels? I do like Jack Daniels better, but they went woke. Jim Beam is now Japanese. They bought it a few years ago. No threat of that going to work, so we're drinking Jim Beam. Okay. I have a very serious video. A journalist took a interpreter, liberal woman to Donbass. She was Russian, and she was liberal, and she basically believed her TV, because how else could you be liberal unless all you did was trust everything on television and not question it? Like, you can't... It's not a matter of being stupid, per se, although... a lot of people in both parties are stupid too. It's an authoritarian thing. It's like, but it's on TV, you know, and they think, yeah, like the TV can't lie or something. So anyway, I'm drop this in here.
All right, I'm sitting here with the lovely...
We're going to get to that video. It is very moving. Rittenhouse Rye. Yeah, have a John Wilkes Booth, because that's got Rye and Rittenhouse and cinnamon sticks. We probably won't be allowed on Internet 3.0 at all. Yeah, they're going to censor everything. Look, swing while you can. I would love for somebody who's across the threshold on YouTube and can actually talk to a Google employee to say, hey, why was this person banned after 15 years? If I had my YouTube back, I don't give a fuck about Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or any of that stuff. I was shadow banning all that anyway. I would like my work back from YouTube, and I would like my subscription back from YouTube. It was never monetized. They'd already banned my Google AdSense. Gabe Hoffman did that. He got me banned from Patreon as well, and he got me banned on Twitter. No, he didn't get me banned from Twitter. Black Ice Matter got me banned from Twitter. Gabe got my alt accounts banned from Twitter, so he doesn't get that W or whatever. It's almost like somebody doesn't want to expose predators that are pedophiles and rape children. Yeah, well, if you're on team pedophile, I don't know what to say. Right? This censorship is getting worse and worse, though. It's not just me. I think anybody had a nuanced position on the virus, gone. You know, there are people, content creators, trying to talk about the Russian and Ukraine war. If they say anything pro-Russian, it's not monetized. If it's pro-Ukraine, it's monetized. Like, you can see, they have a clear agenda to manipulate you into saying what they want you to say. If you push the envelope too much, they'll just remove your video, remove your account. And a lot of it, you know, the FBI is approaching these companies and saying, don't talk about Hunter's laptop. Don't talk about this. Don't talk about that. And they roll over and comply. What they ought to do is say, we were approached by the FBI and they told us not to do this and this. Hunter's laptops are real. All those crimes outlined in Corn Pop's Revenge, the Biden crime syndicate, those are real. This Sneeko guy, kind of the Andrew Tate Jr. dude, you want to know about Biden? Go to ancreport.com, click on Corn Pop's Revenge in the film section. Watch that. It'll blow your mind. Watch all those films. Stream it if you want. I don't care. J Ray 1981 again pops in with another dead link and says, do you like Devin's stack for Blackpilled? He tells it how it is. IMO. Last question. Thanks. I don't know who that is. So, sorry. I don't really follow many people. So, don't have time. Maybe he sounds like a good guy. I have no clue. Zero opinion on Devin's stack. Y'all have to fill me in. Josh has a question, but he did not Shekelchat, so we'll not read it or answer it. But, obviously. So, props to Sneeko for asking Nick and Destiny about me. Props to Owen Benjamin for sharing the Telegram. The only way our info is going to get out is if other influencers mention it. Because I'm not allowed on any major platforms. I have no on-ramps. So all this work I've done on Jeffrey Epstein on September 11th and everything in between is sort of invisible. I'm going to be like 50 and, you know, still trying to get work I already did in my 20s out to the public. It's really fucked. That's why I feel like the real transition has to come when the public stops the addiction to YouTube and Twitter, lest Twitter changes in October. Start using Rumble and Odysee. Start using VK instead of Facebook. Start using Gab instead of Twitter. Get off of their stuff. It's nothing but an echo chamber at this point anyway. I have seen a lot of content creators at least backing up their YouTubes on Odysee and Rumble. Right? It's good. The Duran and others, they're on Odysee. They might only have 100 followers or whatever, but their videos are there just in case. Because they all know it's coming. At any moment, clap, YouTube can just go, you're gone, because reasons. Not hate speech, none of that. That's just bullshit. It's just stuff they say. They can remove whoever they want, whenever they want. The rules don't apply. They just do what they feel like. They ought to just say, we're a hardcore leftist organization and we don't like your political views, so we're going to censor you. That's what they should say. They don't. They try and couch it, and, oh, you broke this agreement. No. You're a hardcore radical leftist. You don't like what's being said and you want to censor it. Just admit what you're doing. Be upfront about it instead of this indirect, effeminate bullshit. Just be direct. Okay, thank you, J. Ray, for that information. I will look at it if I remember that. VK.com is far better than Facebook. And it's got over 500 million users, so it's not some dinky thing. Gab does not have the user base of Twitter, but it definitely is more based. And look, just use both for a while. Test it out, It is certainly an uphill battle. Okay, I want to show you a serious video, and I'm going to drink through the entirety of it and probably turn it, not Ryjack, I guess, Rygem, I don't know, Jim Rye, something like that, Jim Beam, by the end of it. But this is a liberal that got taken to Donbass where they had to talk to real people and figure out they're not crisis actors and whatnot. And so I feel like this will be eye-opening for a lot of you. Enjoy.
All right, I'm sitting here with the lovely Maria, or Mash.
Wait. DJ Cogdale with a dead Lincoln says, fuck Lincoln, Cheney and McCain. Scott Horton just did an interview with someone talking about legacy of Liz Cheney, and she was for America's Advanced Interrogation Program, aka torture. When even John McCain was against it. What a monster. John McCain was against torture because he got tortured in Vietnam. So at least he had that, right? But only lip service, because he didn't do anything about advanced interrogation, which we all know is torture. P1 Dizzy puts in a penny short of a dead Ulysses Grant and says, can you further explain your earlier explanation about not wanting to own someone in a debate, but that these are serious issues about the people? Okay, so sure, and then we'll do the video. That's a great question or comment, whatever. On Telegram, I was explaining, because I've had Ethan Ralph hit me up and others and be like, basically, they just want me to wreck Destiny again. And yeah, I mean, that's easy and fun, I guess, for them, but I don't get anything out of it. Like, I'm not busting my balls and getting censored everywhere for some sort of ego trip, okay? If I wanted to be more popular or whatever, I'd just be a neocon. And then I'd get money, I wouldn't get censored, I wouldn't have a problem. I don't like this sort of climate of, you got served, owned, blood sport, whatever. I think if you want to do that, you can, but it's kind of immature, especially for someone my age. Like, I don't need to dunk on people who have like half my IQ. I don't get a rise out of it. I have zero pleasure. Like, who is that T-Jump, whatever, he tried to argue with me about 9/11, and I eviscerated some turd. I got nothing out of that. I felt like I could have just done a solo podcast because he added absolutely no new information. He just like source, and I give him the source, and then he didn't know what to do. It was like a lecture where someone's trying to argue with me. They'd never heard any of the things I was bringing up. This is just like the Destiny debate. This is like all my debates. It's like I'm explaining stuff about Syria or Iraq or whatever the thing is. They have no idea what I'm talking about because, their entire like research on the issue is watching a couple of videos on YouTube and studying maybe, 10 hours or something. And this is not on my level, and that's not any fun at all. And to me, the point of a debate or discussion is to figure out what's true. It's not to figure out who's right. It's to figure out what's right. If that's not what you're doing, what's the point? This isn't like arguing about UNC versus Duke or something. If we're talking about September 11th, that is not entertainment for me. People fucking died. Their families are still suffering from that, watching those towers come down, watching those planes slam into the building. Or, well, not in Building 7's case, but, or slamming into the ground in Pennsylvania. They lost their family members. And people are so divorced from that reality, whatever. They act like 9/11, like it's this fun, entertaining thing to spurg about or something. I don't see it like that. And I know a lot of victims' families watch my material. We've dug into it, dug into the history of Al-Qaeda. Yeah, I feel like with Nelson Martin and Adam Fitzgerald, you know, I collected some people who have become good researchers themselves and great researchers, and I didn't put myself in my films or anything. I mean, I have my voice in there. I didn't know how else to do that, but I put them out there to get the information out there, and I wanted it to be falsified. Because the whole point is, like, that's how you start. That's how you figure out what's true. You start with the best evidence you can compile. You put it out there to be questioned, and then you revise it. You do that over and over until you get the best conclusion, the most solid conclusion you can get. And it's unlikely you're going to do that on the first try. So you put out the best you can do. You falsify it yourself. You get others to falsify it. You revise it. You know, you get better evidence. You get better explanations. Well, what about this? What about that? And you keep working on it. And hopefully, I mean, this is like the scientific method, right? What you don't do is you start with a conclusion and try and rationalize it. This is what, like, religions do. Well, yeah. And for me, I don't mind having a discussion with someone like Fitzgerald, Schumann, or someone serious about 9/11. I don't mind talking about the Holocaust with Guillermo Rudolph or David Cole or somebody that's like went to prison for it or something, knows it in and out, and or whatever the issue, you know. I don't mind talking to Scott Ritter about WMDs in Iraq or Ukraine for that matter. I talked to former CIA analysts. I had Gaddafi's bodyguard come on to talk about Libya. I like discussions, and I like learning new facts from experts or people who are there. They're going to add something. I don't like being an internet mercenary to just own the libs or whatever. I got zero, like when I had a debate, if you can call it that, with Nick Fuentes. He was 19 years old. You know, I wasn't trying to dunk on him or anything. He tried to rationalize state genocide. That didn't go well. You know, but I don't hate him or anything. I think, I wish most teenagers were as active and political as him and put America first and did what he's done. And he's been censored and trashed. And he has some opinions I really disagree with. So what? It's anybody. Thomas Sowell. I plug him all the time. Good on economics. Good on sociology. Pretty shit on his foreign policy, particularly with Iran. It's okay. I still like Thomas Sowell. We just disagree on Iran. I'd love to talk to him, right? Pete Kiones and I butt heads sometimes, privately, on Skype. Love the guy. I think he's 99% of the time dead on. That's with anybody. I could talk to Scott Horton all day about Oklahoma City bombing, what happened there. But I don't need some noob that watched a film about 9/11 and then, you know, prep for a couple days trying to debate when I've been doing this for 21 years. It's a waste of my time. Because this is all that's going to happen. They assume I'm going to do the trite 9/11 kook stuff or blame an ethnic group or something goofy. And, I don't. And I'm naming people and events and things that they've never heard of. And they just sit there looking stupid. And it's just like a lecture. And they're like, didn't know that. Didn't know that either. It's a waste of my time. And they look like an idiot. And they're not an idiot. They're just ignorant. That's normal. Like, if I were to talk to some expert on the Crimean War, or, I don't know, like the Battle of Hastings or whatever, that knew every detail, I'm not going to contribute much. I'm just going to sit there and listen. As The Rock says, know your role. It is moronic to go out and be like, I'm going to debate so-and-so on a topic that, they've made 5-hour films about and been talking about for 20-something years. And, I just started looking at it last week. That is so arrogant. And that's what Destiny is thinking about doing. I strongly advise against that. You have no idea what my position is, and you're not interested in the truth. You just want to, try to do a gotcha thing and, win. I don't like that crap. I was on a Bloodsport something, I don't even remember who it was, talking about the Iraq War, and they were like, don't, trash them. I'm like, why? You got to realize that other person has got to recover from that. I don't like that. I don't like turning political ideologies or something into some sort of circus for entertainment to just show how wrong somebody is on something. Because if you're going to do that, you are making it less likely for them to listen, less likely for them to change their mind, right? You're getting their ego involved, so they're just going to defend it to the death and rationalize it, right? This is why people are like, what, you never debate religious people or whatever. I'm like, well, I don't need to. I don't care what you believe or disbelieve. If it works for you, great. If you want to argue with me about it, you can, but I'm not going to put that online in public because, that's embarrassing for them. I don't think you should take serious events where people were murdered and use it as something to grift on and make money on and use it as entertainment. I just think that's sick, dude. That's why I wouldn't argue Sandy Hook or something like that. I would just say, shut the fuck up. Here's the evidence of the kids getting killed. And I don't even want to, you don't even deserve the time if you're one of these shooter deniers or whatever. It bothers me. I see political discussion going in this direction of this Twitter arena bullshit. And I'm like, and it's also unfair because when you say something that's threatening to the system, which I do pretty much every day, you get banned, you get censored. And they can say whatever they want, and they can have as many people as they want, and they can have an audience of whatever feeding them information and Google and all that. I'm just sitting here in my chair. I'll still win those debates though. But I don't like that. I would far rather prefer an interview. Why are you trying to debate somebody when you don't even know what they're going to say or what their opinion even is or what it's based on? First, you should hear what they have to say. And then if you disagree, then you can say, I really disagree with that. I want to debate about it. Fine. But I'm not into that kind of stuff. I know other people are, and they get a lot of pleasure out of wrecking someone or whatever. I do not. That's easy for me, maybe. So I get, it's like, okay. I don't know. It's like some beautiful girl that hears you're beautiful every day from simps. Just doesn't mean nothing to her. I don't give a fuck about owning some. I would never do what Shapiro does, arguing with high school kids about gender issues or whatever. Just dunking on 16-year-olds in public and then put that on the internet. It's mean, man. At least talk to adults. I mean, it's okay to go to high school and talk to kids and wreck their stupid opinions, whatever. But do you have to film it and stick it on the internet? Like, think about that child. That they're a teenager, they said something stupid, and that's there forever. And you're like a lawyer, right? And an adult lawyer with children and all that, and you're just like and eviscerating some punk. There's something wrong with it. I like talking to people on my level because, like, I might have a mistake and they can point it out, or they can give me new information, or they can remind me of information that I've forgotten, because some of these topics are so vast and big, you know, you want to go through it. But I'm not wasting my time arguing about, you know, a plane hitting the Pentagon. I've put my time in. I've argued with enough dumb fuckers about it, and I don't have the energy anymore. Like, they don't listen. They don't care. They're not arguing in good faith. I'm not interested. So I hope that answers your question. Josh, for a dead Jackson, says, you should red pill Alex Stein on the Civil War. That guy is a Bloodsport Rhino owner. Seeing his rapid rise has been especially sweet, knowing that he's a fan of yours. By the way, happy Dead McCain Day. Happy Dead McCain Day. I like Alex Stein. He's hilarious. Now, you know, if your occupation is a comedian or something, yeah, dunk on everything. That's different. That's his job. And political satire and humor, and, you know, dunking on people in Congress and stuff like that, dude, that's a fair target. Like, you're a public figure. Make fun of McCain all you want. I mean, I do. I made a holiday of it. But that's very different than just like some guy on the internet. You know what I mean? That you don't know how you're going to impact their life, career, or whatever if you just eviscerate them. That's different. I don't care about McCain or any of these. Oh, did she fall down? Here we go. The Donahue quote. If you haven't seen those videos, Kamala Harris's old boyfriend, as well as Phil Donahue. What was it? Williams? What's the guy? Black guy, bald head, mustache sometime. Montel Williams had Kamala Harris as one of his side chicks. She wasn't even the main chick. She was like one of the side chicks. But he did a fair interview with David Cole. And then Donahue had Bradley Smith and David Cole on there trying to talk about the Holocaust. And they weren't denying the Holocaust. They were saying, like, no, the Germans did not make furniture out of body parts and stuff. Simple stuff. And people lost their minds. Anyway, good on Scott Horton for, I think I reposted his interview on Liz Cheney. And then thank you, Josh. Thank you, P1 Dizzy. Let's get into Odysee. JRay1981 says, thanks for all your info. By the way, I followed you for years. I disagree sometimes too, but all said, your wealth of info. Well, I don't expect people to agree with everything and don't care. Often people disagree at first, and then I am able to change their mind. And if not, so what? Go listen to someone, you know, take it all in, agree or disagree. The only person I have never disagreed with is Dr. Ron Paul. Everything that dude has ever said, I'm like, yep, got a point. Guy's he's a legend. He's a living legend. Did you ever have an interview with Owen Benjamin? I have not. He mentioned doing one, and somebody from, it's his VK account, but it's not Owen. It's like someone that works for him, did contact me like last January, and I don't know, they disappeared. But yeah, he likes lacrosse. He like we have some similar things, and he's a comic, and he's doing very well, and I think he's interested to learn about 9/11. And you really, seriously, you need to find someone, you know, myself or one of basically our circle, to ask about 9/11 because most everything about it is disinformation, misinformation, just filth. And trying to figure it out by yourself is nearly impossible. Unless you were alive when it happened and you kind of dodged the disinfo as they came. If you try to figure it out now, you're going to spend a long time sifting through one BS documentary after another, one BS claim after another. You know, they finally did stop posting that stupid 8-foot hole in the Pentagon stuff when I put the videos out there. It's just, I don't have enough outreach. I don't reach enough people. I can debunk this stuff in seconds. But the disinfo is disseminated far wider. All the 9/11 kook films are still on YouTube. I'm not even allowed on YouTube, you know. So the disinfo wins because they're allowed on social media and we are not. And always they were amplified. We were suppressed. We got to build alternative media. Nothing's going to budge culturally or politically until we fix the fucking media. And I've got a great speech about that. Possibly be able to deliver in November for the Ron Paul Institute. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. Dug It Up sends a dead Lincoln, says cheers to you and the truth. Or Jim Bean, he said cheers. It's morning here too. I missed the Odysee chat. Let me go up. J Ray, one more. Can I ask, how can a truck bomb blow up the Oklahoma City building that bigly? Hard to believe. Well, if you pack a Ryder truck with fertilizer and Pyrex and stuff, you could blow a pretty big hole. It's weird that it has two crescents. There's news reports of secondary explosions. I mean, it's may not have just been a truck bomb, but there's so many problems with Oklahoma City. Look up Kenneth and Terrence Trinidad, Wired Alien Resistance, and all these groups. It's just weird stuff. You can see the prepping. Andre Strassmeyer was driving the truck. Timothy McVeigh was in the passenger seat. They showed that to the LA Times and others. It was verified. And they're just sitting on these video and information, and it doesn't make any effing sense. Because Judith Miller tried to blame the whole thing on Iraq. She also blamed 1993 World Trade Center bombing on Iraq. And, of course, she blamed September 11th on anthrax on Iraq. She was go-to person for that. And she's not an idiot. She knew better. She's just one of these lying neocons. She dated Louis Leibowitz. You may know him as Scooter Libby. And he's a sack of shit. PNAC guru. Project for New American Century. Classic architect for the Iraq War. Lawyer for Mark Rich. Society. Did get disbarred, though. But he got his sentence commuted by Bush. Involved in the plane affair, all that. Colbert has a great video on McVeigh, someone said. So maybe, I guess James Colbert has a good video on McVeigh. Haven't seen it. I'll take your word for it. I think Scott Horton's really good on that too. Anyway.
All right, I'm sitting here with the lovely Maria, or Masha. She was my translator in the Donbass when I went the last time. Now, why was she my translator in the Donbass? Why did I specifically choose her? The reason I chose her is because she's a staunch liberal. She's an anti-war protester. And she had a set of beliefs about this conflict that I did not believe to be true. And everything that I told her, she did not believe to be true. She thought everything that I was saying was Russian propaganda, and I thought everything that she was saying was Western propaganda. And so I kind of gave her a challenge to come and see for herself. And it was a very interesting trip. So we're going to talk to Maria, and we're going to get her impressions. And we will see the conclusion of what took place. So Now, I should note that in the beginning of the trip, on our way down, we had several disagreements about what was really happening. And I said, you know what? We're going to meet my friend Thomas Roper. Thomas, for you guys that don't know, Thomas, he's a very prolific geopolitical writer. He's written 7 books. He's an incredible journalist. And he's been to the Donbass just as many times as I have. And so he is much better at articulating than me. I thought that he would be able to talk to Maria and maybe see her to kind of put some reason, not reason, but maybe try to kind of help her with her thoughts, because really she was struggling a lot.
Well, the normal impression of the Russian guys and girls and whatever who are influenced by what I call the Western propaganda, because there were many emotions and not really many arguments. So she was just emotionally telling what she's feeling, and when I tried to explain things, it didn't really come through. This is a normal way which I see very often in Russia, and also with Western people. That's normal because that's how the Western propaganda works. They are just pushing on the emotions, and when you are emotional, you are not able for a real fact-based argumentation. So at the end of the day, somehow I just told her, okay, well, I see you will see it in Donbass yourself. This was, well, on some points, maybe I was able to make her think, but I wasn't really able to convince her. So the conversation ended somehow with the words that I said, really, okay, you go and we talk afterwards. But that's the problem, really, that the Western propaganda is emotional. So, and you know this yourself. When you're afraid, when you are hating somebody, when you love somebody, you're not ready for emotions. If we know this from many stories, just in private life, when somebody is betraying you, but you love the person, you are not able to listen to arguments. And that's how emotions work, and that's how the Western propaganda works. They show emotional pictures, tell emotional stories, and this switches off the analytic thinking. And that's what's happening, and she was an example for that. So I wasn't really able to convince her, absolutely not somehow. But I ended the conversation with, you're a good girl, and we talk when you come back.
Okay, John, let's start from the beginning.
All right.
Just as a background information, if you will, because it's not only true for myself, it's true for millions of people in Russia who are horrified by this war. We all have ties with Ukraine. Either it's blood ties because it's family members, or it's friends, or it's both. It's inseparable. We are the same people. Probably if someone from Ukraine heard that now, they would be denying that as vehemently as they could, but we are the same people, actually. We grew up on the same movies, on the same music, on the same literature. We like the same food. We have the same cultural references. We truly are as close as nations as it can only possibly be.
Okay.
The war with Ukraine is the most horrific thing that could possibly happen. I honestly do not have a vocabulary to describe that, because it just shouldn't exist. So those words don't exist in my language or in English language or in any language, I believe, because it's just beyond horrors to imagine that we could go with war to Ukraine. From, as we say in Russian, every iron, every day, we hear how this war, how this horrors, how this aggression is unmotivated, how Russia went insane, how Ukraine is suffering, how it's absolutely undeserved, unprovoked, unreasonable, and how there is no forgiveness to anyone who is Russian, how we all 150 million of us supported. What horrible people we are. All of that. Well, you know.
Yeah, of course.
I think everybody knows that. I don't have exact numbers. I don't think anyone has, but according to different evaluations and they vary from 200,000 to 2 million people fled Russia since the beginning of the war. And I refuse to call it special operation. It is war.
Okay.
You know, they fled Russia just like Ukrainians flee Ukraine, because they flee because they cannot stay here anymore. They suffocate here. They see Zs on cars, on billboards, even on socks, for God's sake, on everything. And it honestly makes you feel like you have no air. You cannot see this. Okay. You cannot see this. It's unbearable physically. When it started, I fled to the Far East to work in a rehab center, because it would mean that I would stay within that rehab center and I wouldn't go out and I wouldn't be exposed to this Zs. And that was the only way to survive it, basically. Because I don't know, it's like you feel like you need to walk out of the window because you cannot live through that. This is what is done to the people of Russia by the media, by the news, by this continuous narrative that we are, I can say the bad guy, but it doesn't cover it. It's, 1% of what we are.
Right.
In the eyes of the world. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So this was the beginning for me. Sometime in April, I believe it was, you sent me the subtitles to translate from several interviews that you took in Mariupol.
That's correct.
And I was listening to what people were saying, trying to make sense of it, trying to convey what they were saying the best way possible. And it was very much like I was listening to the Russian side of the propaganda. It made me feel like, wait a second, that doesn't match. And they could not be the propaganda people because they are just simple people on the streets. They're not actors. It's obvious that they're not actors. And it was a very serious clash in my head. Later on, sometime in the beginning of July, I believe it was, a friend of mine asked me to help him to get his brother, who was from Volnovakha, that's a town between Mariupol and Donetsk, to get this person outside of Russia, because he managed to leave Ukraine, leave Donbass through the Crimea, to get him out to Germany. So we worked out the route for that person. And of course we met in Moscow and I talked to that guy as well. And again, there was another first-hand evidence and another clash. So I had to have my answers, because what I was sure the truth was, as I refused to believe anything that Russia was saying, any Russian, it was all like, oh no, it's all Russian propaganda, it's all lies. I tended to believe what the West is saying. Those were my sources. And what I received from these interviews that you sent to translate and from this guy was saying was in absolute contrast to what I was receiving from all other sources. So when you said that you're going and you need a translator, I said, well, you of course can have a choice, but pick me. I'm a good translator.
That you are.
Well, so I was in a situation when I knew that I cannot go on anymore without having my questions answered. I had to know. And Thomas asked me, like, hey, they're bombing there in Donetsk. They have this mines, these butterflies
Mm-hmm.
laying around. It's dangerous. Aren't you afraid to go there? I'm like, Thomas, I don't care. I have to know, because not knowing is worse. Because not knowing is guaranteed doubts and frustrations and fears and shame. I mean, it's an incredible guilt that we all are feeling. It's a shame. It's like you are ashamed of who you are just because it is your passport, just because you are born in this country and this is your citizenship, and you're supposed to feel guilty and ashamed for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbearable. I had to go.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful to you that you made it happen.
Well, and on our way almost to the border, the hotel where we had rooms reserved, it got bombed.
You did.
And on one of your, I guess, pro-Ukrainian channel, would you call it that?
Let's say anti-Russian channels.
Okay, on one of your anti-Russian channels, somebody posted a video about how basically it was a fake and they were using actors to show...
Yeah, how they were using actors to show that there are dead bodies there, that they're actually not dead bodies, but they are actors, and bad actors, as they are playing the dead bodies and moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, so one of the first things that we kind of encountered, I guess, was I had to run. We were running around looking for a microphone cable, and we went into a shop, and there was a woman who was quite distraught.
Yeah, we went to that market because it's like electronic market
Mm-hmm.
where if you need to find anything, that's the only place in Donetsk where you can have hopes to find it.
Right.
And we asked around for that cable. And as it always goes, people get interested because we have a foreigner. So everybody gets involved into a conversation. And there was this girl who was really upset, and she was going through serious personal issues as well. And she saw me as some sort of a counselor, I guess, of something like that. So she shared, and we talked a lot. And she said, "I just lost a friend. Apparently, she had a friend who walked by that hotel when it was bombed." And that person died. And the 3-year-old daughter of that person died as well.
Yeah.
Maybe on this video, there was exactly the body of that person. The video was filmed from the inside of the hotel. So
Like a surveillance camera.
maybe. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I wouldn't be able to tell. And I asked about it, and I was told by those who deal with it every day that it is normal for as they say, fresh corpse to sometimes move.
Sure, absolutely.
It happens, and apparently this is what was caught on the camera in this video.
Yeah.
But the cynicism of that, like, hey, see, that's an actor. When somebody lost life, it's insane.
Yeah. So let's talk about when we actually got into the Donbass, when we got to Donetsk and Lugansk. What was the first thing that actually struck you?
Okay, it took us a very long time to cross the border. So the hotel was bombed, and we didn't have a place to stay, and it was already relatively late in the evening. So John called his friend, another journalist, Graham Phillips, who lives in Lugansk currently. And he was a wonderful host. He said, come over to Lugansk and stay, instead of Donetsk, go to Lugansk and stay there. So our first couple of days were actually in Lugansk. He hosted us, which was really super kind of him. Graham, if you watch this, thank you so much. You're wonderful. Thank you. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that we arrived to Lugansk, and everything is covered with those Zs. Every vehicle, every bus stop, every basically every surface. Everyone wears chevrons with Zs, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Please understand, in my head, this is a new swastika. This is the sign that Russia is turning into a fascist Germany. And then we go to Donbass that we are, according to the news, destroying.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? And everything there is covered with Zs. How can that possibly be? If people hate us so much, if we are such an enemy, if we are such a villain, that if we are such a monster that everything there is covered with the symbol, and the symbol gets complete support.
That would be like the Jews voluntarily walking around with a Nazi symbol on their... With a swastika.
Sort of.
It makes no sense.
It did make no sense. I was like, what is that? Next day, we went to Severodonetsk.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the city which is in a similar condition as Mariupol in terms of devastation.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrible. Yet, they have no water, no electricity, no nothing. Yet there are people who stayed there, who live there in basements.
Mm-hmm.
We went to one yard, and there is a children's playground,
mm-hmm.
and graves right on this playground, right there.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first biggest shock that I had when I looked at it live. When it's not a photo or, I don't know, some video that you watch on TV, but when you see it live, this playground and those graves right there. And there are people there, and they talk to them a little bit, and not a single one of them expressed any kind of negativity towards Russia. All the negativity was aimed at Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
That was another clash in information, which was crucial to me. Like, how come you're not tearing me apart? I am Russian. It is my people who did that to you, and in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer was, no. It's not this way. And then these conversations repeated in Mariupol, in Lugansk, in Donetsk, in Volnovakha. They repeated in all the places where we went to. So it was kind of extreme red pilling, if you will, for me to accept that. On the second day, because I would say it's second day, we had a meeting with Vlad Dainega,
mm-hmm.
the guy who is currently a Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lugansk People's Republic.
Mm-hmm.
He was responsible for the negotiations in Minsk that lasted during all this almost 8 years. He was there on every meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And John was kind enough to say, like, hey, what would be your questions to that guy? So the questions that were asked to this guy were my questions. They might seem naive because they are of a person who has no clue. I had no clue. And it's true. I really didn't know. I wasn't following that much. My attitude to that was like, during all these 8 years that preceded it from 2014, my attitude was like, this is internal Ukrainian business. Russia has nothing to do with it. Ukraine should resolve it themselves. Let them resolve it themselves. And I didn't look deep into that. It was like their business. I let them be.
Mm-hmm.
I am very much not proud of that now. I should have paid attention. I should have paid more attention. So this person, Vlad Dainega, he was explaining from the start, because my first question was, how come that the people of Donbass are hated so much that they are being physically destroyed, basically, during all these 8 years? Why are they hated so much? And it's a 2-hour interview of explanation of what was happening, how it came up to be, how it reached this point.
He really went in depth. He was amazing. And I will just kind of note on a side note, for me, I know what answers I want to hear. But the most important for me is to show the other side, show the other side what's actually happening. And if I use my mindset, that's not going to help anything. So I wanted to make sure that she asked her questions, because she has the mindset that a lot of other liberal anti-war protesters have. And so for me, this is very important to kind of reach across the aisle and try to answer these questions, to try to take away some of these myths, I guess, that are being said. So, okay, so go ahead.
So anyway, I received this explanation and the story and the whole story of how it developed, and how what started in February was basically unavoidable.
Mm-hmm.
It would have started anyway sooner or later.
Mm-hmm.
That truly was no other way in that situation.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, but I had to accept it because it really was something unavoidable.
Yeah.
My question for the reasons for hate to everything that is, to the people of Donbass and now to everything that is Russian remained, though. And I got that question answered from another interview that we had a few days later with the guy who is a counselor, an advisor to the head of the Donetsk People's Republic. Mm-hmm. His name is Yan Gagin, and he is a high-rank military official, a very knowledgeable person, mm-hmm. a very smart guy. You know, he helped us a lot. We went together to Mariupol to deliver humanitarian help, and in one of this, during this trip, he went to a school and found a bunch of books there in the school library and brought those books and showed those books to us. And this interview was about these findings. Mm-hmm. And these books are aimed at children school children from like probably 7 years old till the time they finish school. So they are different levels, mm-hmm. starting from just books with pictures, because little children, they think in images. They don't really read much, but they remember pictures. To history books, to all kind of analytical books. So it's that literature that is needed for the education, and it is clear that from the early age, it gets put into the brains of children how we are enemies with Ukraine. Mm-hmm. That we are not brother nations like Russians think, that we have zero common cultural background, that doesn't exist, that we are enemies, that we should be hated, that we are basically being dehumanized in their eyes from the early age on. Imagine seeing that for someone who went to school and went and learned there that, well, there was Kiev Rus, Kievskaya Rus, the Kiev Russia, that Kiev is the mother of all Russian cities. There is a stone in Kiev with engraving on it, "From here the Russian land began." Mm-hmm. You know, and then you see the other side, what is taught to the kids in the Ukraine. And I still ask why. Why? Why all these lies? Why all this hatred being indoctrinated? And this is the reason why there are people in Ukraine. I know not all of them. I'm absolutely sure, just like there are different Russians, there are different Ukrainians, not all of them, but truly there are people of Ukraine who support and have supported these bombings of Donbass, this elimination of the population there during all these years. Mm-hmm. That was the answer why that happened.
Yeah. All right, so we went to Valhalla, to the hospital? Is that how you say it?
Volnovakha.
Yeah, sorry. So we went there. We went to the hospital. We met the doctors. And how did you feel about that trip?
In Volnovakha, they held 600 people in basements. They held them hostages. They didn't let them go.
Who?
The Ukrainian troops. I'm sorry. I'm turning into these people. I just say they.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Ukrainian troops were holding them hostages in the basements of the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
There were patients, there were wounded people, there were civilians they could catch and put there, there were medical personnel, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
They spent months in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
We walked around some areas of this basement, saw where they slept, where they ate, how they lived there. And they are like, it's impossible conditions. At the same time, the Ukrainian troops found the storage of drugs in the hospital, broke into the safe, and got themselves high on those wonderful cocktail of adrenaline and opium, which makes you fearless, which makes you really high, which makes you do crazy things and not care.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's fun. So they were running around, shooting at everywhere through the. Well, it's just insane. It's like human hunting or something. I imagine it's just crazy. They did, it's that kind of thing. And at a certain point, when they were retreating, because they were running away from the Russians and Donetsk, so the Allied forces, they decided to destroy the evidence of that whole thing, and they shot from the tank. There was direct shot from the tank that was there, and we saw the hole in the wall that this shot left, to make sure that the building collapses over the people who were in the basement. Civilians. Children. They had 6 children born during this month in this basement.
Mm-hmm.
Like newly born children. All of them. Just to be dead. Just to die under the what remains of the building after you shoot at it from a tank. What's the reason to destroy a hospital? It's a hospital. They know exactly that it's a hospital. They received medical help from those doctors, even though they were Ukrainians.
Yeah. One of the very interesting things that I heard while we were there is that one of the injured people was a native English speaker. So either American or Canadian or British. And he was injured, not mortally, but to the point where he couldn't evacuate with the rest of the Ukrainians. So they shot him in the back of the head.
Yeah, not to deal with dragging of the wounded or something. Just they said that there were several bodies and their faces were disfigured, their fingerprints were removed so that they wouldn't be recognized.
Yeah.
So they were removing the evidence this way. Just shot them dead.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Wild. Yeah. So that was the hospital. What else? What else did you?
On the last day, we went to the front line, to the town called Svetogorsk, and this is where they have active fighting. This is where, from about 4,500 people, about 1,500 people still remain.
Mm-hmm.
They hide in basements and somewhere, and in churches. There is a big church there where people hide as well, and they are terrified there. Apparently, 2 days before, there was a group of journalists who filmed them and put it online, and it all went to the Ukrainian TV as well. So people were recognized, and these people have relatives in Ukrainian towns, Kharkov was named for sure among these towns. And now these relatives of these people are hunted, and they say that they're like number ones to be killed.
Mm-hmm.
So these people are terrified not only because they are the targets for snipers, not only because they fear for their own lives, but because they also fear, and maybe even more, for the lives of their relatives, for their families who are in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Which to me is just beyond comprehension.
Yeah. So me and Nikita from, you guys have seen Nikita in my past videos from Buhanka Project, and Masha, and a priest, Father Andre, and a nurse, Tatiana. We all went to this town. And when we got there, they said, you can't leave your vehicles out in the open because it could get bombed by drones, or you can be shot by snipers. So we had to rush in with our vehicles filled with food, put them into a garage to unload everything, and then rush them back out. And, I have to say, to Maria's credit here, she is rock solid. We were walking down these streets where snipers were 200 meters away, on the other side of the river. Now, granted, we wouldn't have been an easy shot because there were destroyed buildings in the way, but still, the risk was very high. And, she's walking along in her vest, kind of taking in everything. She was absolutely amazing. When I began the trip, I told her, I will only take you if you are objective and you keep an open mind. And that she did, 100%. And what was your feeling on seeing that town? I mean, the bombing was going on not far from us. You could see all the smoke rising. What was your feeling?
It has to stop. It somehow has to stop. I don't know what should happen for this to be over, but it should not exist like this.
That's true.
If I could take all these people and get them out of there, I would. If I could have some sort of a magic coverage to just cover them away so they're not visible and they are not, and it is not possible to harm them through that coverage, I'd use it. You really feel very helpless. Even though you bring humanitarian help, you bring all this food, you try to do something, but you still feel so helpless against this crime.
Yeah.
So how do you feel? You feel like you do what you can. And you also constantly understand that it is so little. And you know that you have to go back. Because being elsewhere makes no sense at all. You have to go back.
Yeah.
And do what you can.
Yeah. Yeah. And not to insert a shameless plug here, but if you guys want to donate to the people, we are going to be making more humanitarian trips. You can send to my PayPal. I will get the money here, or you can send Bitcoin. The link is in the description below. But, we, on limited funds, we did a lot of stuff. We got a lot done. I mean, we did.
And we spent all we had.
Yeah.
Totally, all we had.
Unfortunately,
So on the way back, we had to sleep in a car. We didn't have money for the hotel. We just spent it all.
Yeah. So that wasn't good. But even as far east as Svetogorsk.
As far west.
I keep saying that. Even as far west as Svetogorsk was, it was interesting because the people said, we do not want to talk to you on camera, do not film our faces. But when we are liberated, that was very specific, when we are liberated by Russia and we are safe, then we will speak to you all that you want. They want.
They want the world to know only when it's safe for them.
Yeah.
Right now, they don't believe it's safe for them, and they are scared to death for their families.
Yeah, but they want their independence. Did you notice this? They don't want to be a part of a country that hates them so much.
They don't want to be part of Ukraine for sure.
So, on our way back, another thing that she has read on a bunch of her anti-Russian channels, the fact that refugees are treated so incredibly bad by the Russians. So I decided to stop at a refugee center. And we called, we got the director. We only gave them, 20 minutes notice?
Even less.
We gave them 20 minutes notice, so it's not like they could clean and make everything orderly. We gave them 20 minutes notice. So what was your opinion of going to see that that refugee center?
Well, it's like a pretty decent hotel, basically.
Yeah.
It's really nice. It's clean. It's very well thought through.
Mm-hmm.
They have great canteen with really great food. They eat better than I do.
Yeah, I know, right?
They really have great food.
Canteen is a cafeteria for.
Yeah, it's called canteen,
Yeah.
or you can say it's a restaurant. Basically,
Yeah.
It's simple, but in terms of food quality, it's a restaurant.
Yeah, because
That's for sure. And they live there for as long as they need.
Mm-hmm.
There is no pressure or any time frame within which they need to move out. So they can stay for as long as they need. It's free. Food is free. They have a way to find work. Some people that I talked to have already found jobs so they can make a living.
Mm-hmm.
One of the women I talked to came with her son.
Mm-hmm.
And she already arranged everything. So on the 1st of September, her son will go to school in Voronezh.
Mm-hmm.
It's all possible. It's all provided.
Mm-hmm.
And they went there voluntarily.
Mm-hmm.
They explained to me how it works, because in the Western media it is said that we evil Russians, grab them, put them in buses and just bring them to Russia for...
Labor camps.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We eat them alive. We take their organs. We take away their passport. All that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't stop at anything when it comes to that, to those lies.
Mm-hmm.
The worse there is, the better. So it's like you put whatever there. It will be accepted, of course, because that's us, the evil Russians. That's what we do, right? So it's a really nice place. They are in really good conditions. They can do whatever they want. They can leave at any moment if they want, or they can stay for as long as they want if they want, and it's free of charge. When their only job was to get to the border. At the border, they had there were buses from different towns, because they were. The woman I talked to said that they had 8 towns to choose where they want to go in Russia, and she chose Voronezh. But there were 8 towns to choose, and they were brought there. That's how it went. There was one woman from Kharkov who constantly asked, when are you going to take my passport away from me? Like, why would we take away your passport away from you? Why? Like, because I heard that you take away passports and you then force people to work and don't give them passports back so that they would be motivated to work for free or something like that. I mean, crazy.
But this is what you hear in the Western media.
This is what's in the media, yes.
So, you as somebody who saw everything reported in the media, believed everything that was reported in the Western media, and was quite anti-Russian at the very beginning of this. Very anti-Russian at the beginning of this. How much of what you now know that you read, how much of what you read that you now know is not true?
All of it. All of it. The proportion of those lies the scale of that is very much comparable with the scale of the horror of this war.
Mm-hmm.
It is that much. The cynicism of that is incomprehensible. It's just insane. There is zero word of truth in that. I thought, maybe there are exaggerations. The truth is the first victim at the war. I mean, it's a famous phrase, but maybe at least half of it is true.
Yeah.
No, nothing of it is true. Nothing.
No, it's
So it
sad.
was a sweet red pill to know that my country is actually not a villain, and I don't have to say that country
Yeah.
about my country, because it is my country, and what it's doing is explainable.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much. I am absolutely sure that this interview is going to open a lot of eyes, just because of your background. And
We'll see.
where we were at the beginning of this adventure and where we are now at the end of this adventure. It's quite a transformation, actually,
Yes.
to see. And I watched her transform during this whole trip, and it was really amazing. It was amazing.
It is an absolute eye-opening, and I know that I will go back.
Yeah.
I am surprised that that interview is still on YouTube. Unbelievable. It makes you, when you hear all these exaggerations about the war and all the lies and how everyone in the press goes along with it, and that's how it's going to be written, especially if they won, but they're not going to win. It really makes you question other wars and other events and what went down. Because if Ukraine was able to win this war, then every single line of bullshit they've said would be codified in history. Think about that. And I'm checking for the Shekelchats. All right, that's entropy. And there's Odysee. And Rumble. Could someone test the Rumble thing? Here's the Rumble link. I'll put it on Odysee too. It's I see like a bag full of money. I guess that's where it would go, but I don't think we've ever had a Shekelchat on Rumble. I don't know if it's set up or what, but or maybe it just is a donation and not a Shekelchat. I'm not sure, but well, if somebody wants to test it, go for it. Pretty eye-opening for that lady, especially Mariana, or whatever. She thought, well, she had, she listened to her TV. And then when she saw it for herself, it was very shocking. Your audio went tits up, well, whatever. These are not exaggerations about neo-Nazis, and this is real. It's a very real thing. And there really wasn't, from December on, it was inevitable. There are a million ways to avoid this, but it reached a point where there wasn't another way other than violence. Because the West didn't care. They didn't want to listen. I'm going to say yo on Rumble here. So enjoy your John McCain death anniversary day, your Rittenhouse hat trick. I'm going to go have white.